Hey, this is Ryan from I Am Geek. And before we get to the episode today, I just wanted you guys to know that there were some technical difficulties. We did have a power outage and some internet issues, but this is a fun episode with Logan Sekulow, and it's going to be fun. Trust me, you want to stay tuned. Even though there were some little difficulties there, stay tuned. It's going to be fun. And without further ado, here is the next episode of I Am Geek. Hello and welcome to I Am Geek, and this is episode 62. We're back at it again. Katrin is here. Hey, Katrin.
Heyo.
It's late. He's falling asleep. My brother, Chris, is not here this week. He gets sick, but we have a very, very special guest on. You may know him from such podcasts as WDW Today, BLT Lunch Break, and one of my favorite podcasts out there, Scare Zone, which is all about Halloween Horror Nights.
Too.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
But it is Logan Sekulow. Hello, Logan.
Hey, so you're just like, my brother's sick, who's awake?
Yeah.
And you saw that I was online. You're like, okay, I'll hit up Logan. No, I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk to you guys. I love the show, and this is just be fun, man. Whatever you guys want to talk about, and I'm glad that you're a listener, and yeah, I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah. Don't get me started. I could probably talk about HHN for like 2 hours.
So can I, man. That's why that's why I do a show about it.
Yeah.
But it's also why, like, of all the podcasts I do, I come back to that one a lot because it's the most fun to do. It never has had an advertiser, has never like monetized itself or done anything like that, really, other than we have a Patreon. And that's only in the last month.
Yeah.
It's just fun to do, and when I can schedule time for it, I love talking about it.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to that. Maybe
Right.
we'll talk a little bit about HHN
We'll see.
coming up. But not only do you do podcasts, but you're a director, producer, writer. You do it all. Jack of all trades.
Yes.
Wow. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Yes, I was just agreeing with you. Yes, I do it all. Go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
yes,
Tell me about my credits.
some of your recent works are Welcome Home, Dick Van Dyke, which I got to watch, and it was great.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Thank you.
Hopefully it'll be coming out
Yeah.
soon. Hopefully.
It's a documentary short film we did, about a half-hour special with Dick Van Dyke on his homecoming. They did 2 years ago now this weekend, which is crazy. To Danville, Illinois. We got to spend a couple days with him and kind of walk him through his old hometown, and it was a really amazing experience. But there's a lot of music and things in it that we've had to get cleared, and that's just delayed the project again and again. And every time I think we've resolved it, Warner Brothers will be like, we want another $5,000. I'm like, that's not, no, that's not how it works. So mainly that project is one of my favorites we've done. It was an amazing experience to work with Dick. But sort of this other show that I'm here to talk about a little bit took precedence over it. And now we get to return back to that world and try to get it out. Hopefully by the time Mary Poppins Returns comes out at Christmas. But hopefully it's out way before that.
Yeah.
But maybe the marketing person in me is like, that'd be a good time.
It would be a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also did a story of basically the story of Walt Disney, As Dreamers Do, which starred one of my favorite YouTube guys, Olin Rogers.
Yeah.
Good storyteller. One of the best storytellers on YouTube.
Yeah, he's a creative guy. That was a fun, semi-narrative story we told. It's available on Amazon Prime if you got it, or you can rent it or buy it still. We shot it in 2014. I think that's right. Yeah. 13? I don't know. Somewhere around there, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
4.5 years ago. And it's probably one of it's not necessarily my best reviewed project, but it's probably my most successful project when it comes to how many people have seen it. And it was pretty cool. It was one of those times as a filmmaker to be able to like walk into Walmart and be like, hey, I directed that. That's cool. When people buy DVDs.
Yeah.
That was a cool experience, and it was translated into German, and I think the German version may be better. And it was cool, but every bit has been a learning experience, and I somewhat operated in that wheelhouse, I feel like, for a while, and I still do from time to time in sort of this classic storytelling mode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Last week we talked to a guy from Industrial Light and Magic, and he was saying it's funny to walk in Walmart and be like, Oh, look, there's my life on that shelf. It's just
Yeah.
like all these movies. That's been my life for the past like
Uh-huh.
10 or 20 years or whatever.
And you want people to like say stuff. Like I remember buying it, and I wanted them to be like, "What's this?" And I'd be like, "I'm the director," but they never do. They're just a crumpled Walmart employee who just is. They like the first time we went in, they like had this little tab out for as dreamers do, but there was no DVDs. I'm like, it's not a sellout. Like what happened? It's just like they hadn't stocked it. I'm like, but it's there. You're killing my moment, man. But it was cool. It was a cool thing to be able to
Yeah.
do that. I don't think it's an experience I'll have again, just due to physical media going away, which I'm not opposed to. I think that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But distribution like that's changed. So I'm glad I got in the moment I did to have that experience.
But you're here to promote something that's near to my heart, near to your heart, and used to. You don't watch so much anymore, but
Not so much
in
anymore.
college you were
Well, growing up,
Growing up
and then
in
in college,
college.
yeah, we were big into wrestling.
Yeah. I think that's for a lot of us. Even I had my fallout for a good, half dozen years or so. And I grew up loving professional wrestling, and it was always a little bit a part of my life. I feel like I grew up in the Atlanta area, and Georgia Championship Wrestling and what became the NWA and WCW was not only a part of my life, but was really a part of my family's life. I would hear stories of my grandparents going on dates to pro wrestling. And, so it was always kind of there. And then in that sort of period, a lot of us got into it in the late 90s, 97, 96. I fell in love with it. And again, I grew up in Georgia, so I was a WCW kid.
Oh yeah.
And watched every week religiously until it ended. And then tried to keep myself going with WWE at the time and fell out. Mainly because like a little heartbroken when it all ended, because it was a huge part of my life. I had a pro wrestling team bar mitzvah. Like I was all in, like for wrestling. And then, multiple years later, my wife actually for our like first or second anniversary got me tickets to WrestleMania, knowing I was a fan of wrestling as a kid. And I'd go, like if it came to town, like if Raw or SmackDown, like we'd go and it'd be fun. And we knew about half the wrestlers because a lot of the same guys were, especially in 2000s, 2000. It was still a lot of the holdovers. So you'd have, half the show was people who you grew up with watching, then half the show was new guys. And then around 2009, 2010, I started kind of getting back into it. And in that period of time was also when I started creating a lot more visual media, started doing movies and TV shows. And if a wrestling little like indie needed help, I would occasionally pop down with the camera and have fun shooting it. But I didn't expect to get really deeply involved in the wrestling business. I actually somewhat was hesitant because I loved it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that when you love something so much and then you start doing it as a job, you quickly cannot love it that much. It becomes wrestling was very much comfort food for me at the time. I feel like it was what I'd watch when I was stressed out or what I'd watch when I needed to escape or relax. And then I had a son who I showed wrestling way too young, and he fell in love with it. He eats, breathes, and sleeps professional wrestling now at 5 years old, almost 6, and so much. I mean, he's convinced he will be a pro wrestler, and I believe him right now because this is all he talks about, all he does. And I would not be surprised if they show this clip, 20 years from now, and he's in the WWE. But I was just a huge fan, and to see him kind of fall in love with it really was like a dad-son bonding thing. Yeah. And 1 month, we went to WrestleMania last year in WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. And he got to meet some of his favorite wrestlers, and we had a great time. And then I went to NXT that night, which I'm a big NXT fan. If you know what that is, a developmental program for the WWE, but it's some of the best wrestling you'll see.
Yeah.
And a bunch of my friends were like, "No, we're all going to Ring of Honor. We're not like Ring of Honor." I hadn't really been, my eyes hadn't been opened that much to the independent world. It was just starting to happen. And all of a sudden they send me a match the next week, and it's the Young Bucks versus the Hardys. Obviously the Hardys I grew up with, and I'm watching this match, and it's like, my eyes were opened to this different world of wrestling that I think if you're an adult fan, is really different And it's different than we grew up with completely. It doesn't even feel like it's in the same universe, but it's so good and it's so impressive. And as much as I still do love the WWE, and I think they put out the best visual product of maybe any live sports, if you want to say. But I got my sort of eyes open to this indie world and fell in love with it. And between April and really April and June, July, had started to develop what is now a new project, which is it's out now.
And its name?
So that's why I love wrestling. It's called Dojo Pro, which is fun to say and fun. It rolls off your tongue, and that's part of me liked it because it was we're showing really mostly brand new young talent, or talent that if you're a WWE fan, maybe you haven't seen these guys yet. Some of these guys have been established for 10 years, but they're not guys you're seeing on TV every week. So we're showing sort of this dojo style production. It really mixes a lot of different things, and it's available right now on Amazon Prime. I'm just going to put that out there right now, so if you want to go binge it right now. Every episode of our first season is available on Amazon Prime. But there's a couple of things that I learned as a dad and a professional wrestling fan, and that was that I did not have the time to dedicate that I felt like I needed to follow everything that was happening, even in the WWE. They have 2 live shows a week that equal 5 hours, plus another couple hours if you do pay-per-views, plus another hour if you do NXT. So you're talking about 7 to 10 hour commitment some weeks. And I just don't have the time. I have 3 small kids, and I don't. So I wanted to create a show that you could watch with your family that exposed brand new talent, but also you could sit and either binge it in a night, which you could. You could watch our whole series in a night if you wanted to. Or you could watch it on your lunch break or watch it at school or whatever on your phone in 20 to 30-minute increments. So each episode is 20 to 30 minutes. It's a 12-episode style, and it's introduced in a way that is a very easy-to-understand story. There's one story that threads the entire series from the beginning to the end. It is one thread of the easiest way to explain it is if you're a video game fan, which I know a lot of you guys are. If you grew up playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or any of these kind of combat sports or combat sport games, it's very much, or fighting style games, it's like that come to life. It's it starts with 12 ranked wrestlers, straight from 1 to 12, or the last 2 are competing for that 12th spot. And the winner of that match wins what we call, and it mixes some martial arts elements to the Dojo Pro white belt. And they're working their way up to number 1, and whoever wins the number 1 match gets the Dojo Pro black belt. Now between that, there's 12 matches, and each time someone wins or loses, the belt changes hands, and that person proceeds up the ladder from 1 to 12. So it's presented a little bit more sports-like, but it's also presented in a style that when you see the visual of it, you'll kind of get that there's influences from video games, there's influences from anime, and then there is really a showcase on this amazing talent. And then if they win the number 1 and they become the Dojo Pro black belt, they proceed on, even after that, to Ring of Honor with a television title shot. So not only do they go, and they don't necessarily go and get like a contract or something like that, or it's not reality showy. I feel like in that they go on and they get a title shot. So they'll get the Ring of Honor television title shot, and we'll be shooting that soon when our winner, which I won't spoil it, goes on and and faces their TV champion. So that's the concept of the show. If you're a little confused, just go put on the first episode. In the first 2 minutes, I guarantee you will you'll figure this out and get it. And we'll introduce you to everybody that's involved. If you're an independent wrestling fan, there's guys like Joey Janela, Shane Strickland, Jeff Cobb, who was an Olympian, a lot of great names in independent professional wrestling, Ricky Starks, Aaron Solo. And also there's a legend spot, which is okay for me to reel that, which is it's really a veteran spot, is what we say, in the rankings. That's number 6. It's almost a roadblock for the wrestler that makes it there. And we have the Cowboy James Storm, who competes in that match. Again, it's just a really fun show to watch. It shows some really cool independent talent that in a different way, like Joey, professional wrestler, but a lot of the content isn't the most friendly for you to watch with your kids or to watch, at work. It's pretty bloody, and it's pretty, a lot of death matches there, a lot of big stunts. He's an amazing talent. But we've created a show that is, safe to watch with your kids. For the most part, I mean, it's still 2 grown men beating each other up, but
in their underwear. Yeah.
in their underwear.
Sweaty.
So I mean, maybe not like a 2-year-old, but it's a really fun experience. I hope it's something people watch with their kids because I made it to watch with my son, and I hope people watch it with him. I did watch it like on a giant 200-inch screen, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty violent. Like these guys are knocking the crap out of each other." But I think that when you actually shrink it down and watch it on your phone, watch on a computer, watch on TV, it comes off pretty good. And we really, being a production guy, directing and producing films and TV for years, for the last 15 years, I focused on that too. I think that's something that's lacking in independent wrestling is pretty high in production quality. And I wanted to make sure that you're never going to beat the WWE at that. They're unbelievable and they're a $1 billion company. But could you come up with a new way of telling it? I didn't want to present the same story and be WWE light and be like one of the other 1,000 wrestling promotions that runs a show that's just like the WWE, just on this low budget scale or lower budget scale. So we came up with a new concept for a show, a new way to present professional wrestling with real stakes and high production quality. Though we're not in an arena, we're in a sound stage. We're there, the dojo, if you will, that we've built. It's still really clean to watch and visually stimulating. So yeah, so that's my my non-elevator pitch because that was like 5 minutes. But it's I'm really excited for people to see it. I've been working on it for over a year now, and this is the time when actually people get to see what a year of work looks like, and I hope we get to do it again.
I like it. It sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
So when they go to Ring of Honor, do they get to bring their black belt with them?
We do.
So basically, you'll get to promote it on there too.
We do.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So part of the deal, and I have to say, Ring of Honor has been awesome. I think there'll be some misconceptions because there's Ring of Honor logos on the show, like big Ring of Honor logos, and that they are not. They're involved in the instance of, obviously we are in partnership with them, but they are not like controlling of this show at all. They gave us pretty much full creative freedom to create the show we wanted to make, and what they gave us in return with this title shot was more than we asked for. We didn't expect that at all. In our first meeting with them, you could have seen me, and my producer Dylan walking out, which is like the biggest, like, I can't believe this. And I'm just so excited to work with them. They've been great in letting us put on the show we've wanted to make, and also been great mentors, if you will, when we needed it. So if we needed to bounce an idea off or anything, I can always text or call guys from there. So they'll go on to do the Ring of Honor TV title shot. I'll say it right now at an undisclosed time, but look at the next couple months. It'll probably be on TV in the fall, and yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it because that's one of my big things that about wrestling that I love is storytelling. If there's a good story, then it catches me. It's my male soap opera, I guess. But
no, that's a big, huge part of it. I didn't want to forget that when we were making this show. I wanted people to look at it from a story and from the sports athleticism.
Yeah.
Like, we pitched it a little bit more sports-like, but every show opens with, or pretty much opens as a host, and then it goes into like a video package that explains who these wrestlers are. It almost has that's where it does have a little bit of the reality show vibe, because the lines are blurred, and we'll tell these stories of who these guys really are. We have wrestlers that are coming back after 8 years, but were incredible talent, but had their kids and families, and now it's time for them to come back and steal the show. And
that's cool.
Real stories, in some that are part of the story, but there is this sort of blurred lines that happen that I'm very proud of within our show, where there's not really a separation between it's never extreme fantasy. As much as it's visually crazy, it's not too far-fetched. There are characters. The first episode, I think we can spoil that one because it doesn't matter. I mean, we're not going to spoil who wins or loses, but we can say who's in the first match. To be the first white belt is a guy named Carrie Awful, which is the dog-faced gremlin of, he's kind of a Mankind style, outlandish, carny character. And we talk about love of like Horror Nights. Like, he has that style in him. And our love of Disney as well. And the first guy who he wrestles is Kevin Koo, who is a guy from Birmingham, who's Alabama, who's a great wrestler. His finisher is Splash Mountain. And so there's little moments for me that are in this, and I didn't come up with that as is. And I was like, oh, good. This will hopefully give a wink and a nod to those who have followed me in my other adventures. And he's but so there are these cartoonish characters occasionally, but it is kind of based in this more real world, I'd say.
That's cool. And I love that's going to be on Amazon Prime. That's one of the things with the WWE app that's gotten me into trouble is going on there and being able to watch all the old WCW stuff. Like, especially with I have a 10-month-old that doesn't like to sleep at night. So I'll just sit there with my iPad watching. I think I'm in 97 right now.
Oh,
going through the Nitros.
This is a good time. This is a good time to be a WCW fan if it's 1997. But yeah, man, that's and maybe I love the WWE Network and what they've done with that, but I do think being available on Amazon Prime, on Prime Video, what it's called now. I always have to correct myself. It was Amazon Prime, now it's Prime Video. But it's available for free for those that are Prime members already. And if you're not, it's like a low cost, like a $2 an episode or something like that. So you can go and rent or purchase it as well. But if you're a Prime member, which most of us are, I wanted to create a way to give the non-wrestling fan, or not even the non-wrestling fan, but maybe the people aren't as hardcore, that aren't signed up for the network, or aren't signed up for High Spots or Powerbomb TV, or any of these ones that have come up, which are awesome, and I'm a member of almost all of them. And don't have to put another $10 in. They have already paid the money to see it. You don't have to worry about it. And our deal with Amazon, that's how that works that way. So we can offer it for free to everyone who has Amazon Prime already. And that's the majority of people. So it's a pretty cool in the States. It's available in the United States and the UK right now exclusively. And we're actually working for you in 1997 in WCW. Sonny Ono from there. He is our international consultant working on distribution for us internationally. So
cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he came from our friend Eric Bischoff, who, if you're watching that, is definitely involved. Eric is not officially involved with our show, but he's been kind of a mentor to me the last few years, which has been insane. The 13-year-old boy in me is like losing his mind whenever he talks. So,
it's been funny to listen to his podcast, 83 Weeks, and then going back and watching the NWO build, and it's some of it's pretty hilarious to watch now.
Yeah, I have to stop myself from texting him while I'm listening to 83 Weeks, because I'll just be like wanting to fill in a gap or say something like, "Stop yourself! You are his professional friend who he at least you think somewhat respects what you say. Do not give your like this week on 83 Weeks, which is his podcast." They were talking about how the NWO Wolfpack was a bad idea and all that. I was like, no, I love that so much. And I just want to be justice for the Wolfpack here. That was a great time. I don't know what people say. I loved that time in wrestling. That's what got me hooked. So I want to defend him, and I don't know Conrad that well, but we've talked a few times, and I randomly met him at the national championship game this past year. But I want to, I always kind of want to get in there and start correcting people. So I have to stop myself. And that's part of the problem with working in wrestling and I will say this, and now look, once the show comes out, it could be so poorly reviewed and I get so slammed, I do lose my love for it. But as of right now, I've worked a full year in this and I still just love it. I will talk wrestling all day long. And that's the first time in a project that I felt that way, where I've gotten to that 1 year mark of working on something. And I'm not even the podcast, WDW Today, I love doing, but there's a point where you're like, what else can I say?
Yeah.
I've talked for 3 years now and the show's been on for 13, but I've been hosting for 3 about Walt Disney World. It's eventually I start being we got to come up with new stuff because I feel like I'm repeating myself. Scare Zone, I kind of felt that way too. I feel like we're in kind of a new season. But before then, it was I felt like I had I'd gotten it all out.
Yeah.
The As Dreamers Do movie, it burnt some people out. And, Dick Van Dyke was a 25-minute short. I still love Dick Van Dyke. But, this was the first project at the end of the day, I'll get done with this. And before I go to bed, I'll go kick on, SmackDown, Raw that just ended, and follow up what happened. I'll do it. and I'll fast forward a lot because I'm tired. But other than that, yeah.
Well, with this new wrestling project coming out, I was going to ask you because the way the world is going now with wrestling,
Yeah.
where do you think it's going? Because we have, we have the Elite, the Young Bucks. They're doing their own YouTube show. We have the New Day and the Elite, battling it out with Street Fighter, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there going to be some of this working together organizations?
I hope so. The Bucks have been awesome to us. I will say there are a couple guys directly that came from them who are on our show. I genuinely they're my age, but I look up to them so much for the way they conduct business and are just as guys. Like I genuinely, I know Nick a little bit, but I feel like I have talked with Matt multiple times, and I love them and I love what they've done with being the Elite and what they've done. Even just the way they've treated like my son, who's a gigantic Young Bucks are his favorite wrestlers. Just to see the way they interact with fans is amazing, and I hope there is more interplay between them. I'm not privy to any of that, or am I involved in any of that? Even with my relationship with Ring of Honor, I talk to them, when I can about stuff, but. I mean, we're doing the TV championship match. I don't even know what the match is going to be. Like I try to stay out of some of that kind of stuff. But I hope so. I think the WWE has a cool opportunity. And I think you've seen it with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And it's what they've done now. I hope where the network goes, which you have to give it to Vince McMahon, regardless of, I love him and I think he's a genius as well. And you look at, 20 years ago when he bought WCW, the fact that he could see in the future, really, that 20 years from now, there'll be an audience that wants to see all this stuff, and technology will get to the point where I will be able to deliver that to people.
Yeah.
That's what you got to think. When he bought essentially a tape library of WCW in 1997, or not 1997, in 2001, our web videos in 2001 were virtually non-existent. You had your real player. And, a couple years later, you had the first iteration of YouTube, which was, if you think about it, it's like, prehistoric looking now. It's, 5-minute videos or whatever and like 360p and look like garbage. But he was able to see the future that one day, he'd be able to get millions of people to pay money again to watch a lot of stuff that they grew up watching. And I'm one of them. I was a day one subscriber. And trust me, there are many Nitros you can go back. If you're walking through the late 90s, you'll see little 12-year-old Logan, 13-year-old Logan in there. A lot. Too much. And then on to the 2000s, because I never gave up on him. I watched every episode of Nitro from, pretty much the NWO and forward. Too. And I have a lot of screenshots. My favorite one is when you get to that really weird era towards the end, where it's Eric and Vince Russo are a team, and Goldberg comes back, and it's before Goldberg had his weird heel turn. He came back to the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, so his big homecoming. And I don't care, again, what people say. It was a sold-out, beautiful new arena for professional wrestling. So they could say WCW was going down, and I know ratings-wise it wasn't, but you can't tell me that this crowd isn't, like, on fire. And it cuts from Goldberg. He's sitting there, like, he's on the ropes. He just mowed down like 20 security guards. And then it cuts to me in the audience, my arm flap going because I wasn't any smaller when I was 12 years old. Maybe like 13, 14 by then. And it's just a big sign that says, "Tonight the slaughter begins." And I just love, like, that's the sign I brought at 14 years old. And you'll see, and you can see it. And just so, like, when you get to that one, you'll see the cut. And it's like for multiple seconds, it's me going, and it's the night the slaughter begins. Which, like, you couldn't even bring that sign, I feel like, to an arena now. Yeah. It was a different time.
It was a different time. It was funny watching, like, Larry Zbyszko on commentary. And they had, like, it was like when Jacqueline debuted or something. And he said, "That's why the women need to stay in the kitchen." I'm like, there is no way you can do that today.
There's tons of stuff. And that's on WCW. If you go over to WWF at the time, whoa. Like, I don't even think I was allowed to watch it because it was intense what was happening over there. I'm trying to find my Tonight the Slaughter Begins picture, but I don't know. I don't know where it is. I'd send it to you guys because it's pretty radical.
Yeah, I was in one when they came. I think they came to Johnson City. It was for Nitro, and it was right when they started using "Where the Big Boys Play." So I have a big "Where the Big Boys Play" sign.
That's awesome.
Like the second road, you can see me shaking it and stuff. But
That's hilarious.
Good times, good times.
Oh man, I loved it.
Yeah. Our town was a big Smoky Mountain wrestling place, so I would work those shows all the time, and it was just fun seeing like the Rock and Roll Express stumbling in, and
they're still out there, man.
Yep, they're still going.
They're still going. We've talked about doing a tag season, and I was like, I want the Rock and Roll Express to be my to be the legends or whatever that year, because I think that'd just be awesome. Because I've seen those guys still, they can go still, and it's crazy. Like they'll do a double drop kick, and I mean it's still awesome.
Oh, my hip.
Yeah, but no, they're both in like awesome shape. And I was at WrestleMania this past year, and Robert Gibson had a can of Skull, and he tried to throw it in the trash can, and it hit me in the foot. And there was a moment of like, do I keep this can of Skull? Like I thought, like that would cross my mind. He's like, I'm throwing that away. And first I was like, this is kind of gross. And then part of me's like, can you sign it? Like, here, I'll show it to you. There you go. And that slaughter begins.
Oh yes, I'll have to look for it when I get there.
That guy got a lot of girls. I'll tell you that. That was my wife. Every time she sees that photo, she's like, "You were precisely the person I said I would never marry." And now my wife, is kind of involved in professional wrestling, so nice. It's a family affair.
Yeah, she's living out one of my dreams. I've seen the pictures.
Yep. So see if you can figure out because if you're watching later on, you can see if you can guess who my wife is when you watch the show. And my son is credited as a creative consultant because he certainly is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, his first IMDb credit.
We have a picture of when we went to a wrestling event together in Johnson City, and I had long hair down to my shoulders, and we're all standing there posing and everything. But my wife has seen pictures of me with long hair, and she said, "If I'd known you then, we wouldn't be together."
No.
So I have a similar story,
Yeah, exactly. And I went through a long-haired period as well, but it's before I could grow any facial hair, so I just looked like a woman. Yeah. Like I would be called ma'am everywhere I went, and I still had not really. I mean, my voice is not the deepest to begin with, so it was an unfortunate era of long-haired Logan. And my hair is beautiful when it's long. It's like long and flowing and glistening and blown out. It can only like go down to my shoulders, then it would just go out and out and out like an afro.
Mine was great. I had it shaved underneath.
I had that one time.
So it was terrible. Because my hair I've got so much hair. It's actually fine, but it's so much. And never again, I guess.
We sat next to a guy at dinner the other night who had like full on like road warrior hawk, a road warrior animal, whatever. Hawk, I think. Who has the mohawk? Hawk. Mohawk. It's the man. Yeah,
the reverse mohawk.
Did the animal have the?
Who had the actual Hawk? Had the reverse.
He
mohawk.
had the reverse mohawk.
He was like the bald.
Yeah.
All right,
the animal had the mohawk.
Yeah.
And I turned to her and I was like, "Could I pull that off?" And she was like, "Yeah, you look good like that." I was like, "Okay, done." Like I'm getting the animal road warrior haircut next time. And then she called me. I'm getting my haircut tomorrow morning. She's like, "We're doing family photos on Friday, so could you not do that now? Like if you do it, it'll grow back fast, fine. But just let's get through the family photos."
That's funny.
So next time you see me, I'm full on road warrior. You'll know why.
Nice. That'd be awesome. You should do it for like HHN. You should do it for October.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It's maybe my new wrestling look. I need a gimmick. So I'll just embrace the animal. So I'd love to for Horror Nights. You can't wear a costume, so that'll just be like my version.
Yep. I bet this year, this is sort of switching subjects. I bet there's going to be so many people dressed as Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is just 80s, being 80s themed. I think it's going to be a lot of people out. And I'm curious how they'll police that because that always felt weird. Like The Purge, I've always had an issue with like every time they've done that scare zone because I'm like, half these people just look like people who are here. Like, and then all of a sudden one pulls a knife on me. I'm like, oh, okay. How about we don't do things that look real? Like, let's,
Oh, you broke up there. Sorry.
All right, I'm here.
Yeah, Yeah, when I worked at Howl-O-Scream for a few years in Tampa, and it was like they would have costumes sometimes that would be like, are you a person that works here or a person? And there was many fights that I would have to break up in full costume with drunk people thinking that these characters were actually real people. And mess.
Yeah, that's why I'm cool with him doing like supernatural things and different things because it's always gets a little too hairy when it's just like plainclothes people with bats. It's like that's just I'm always stick with aliens. Like with the problem with that.
Yeah.
We'll see this year. It'll be crazy. I
know. I'm excited. I mean, especially with 10 houses. I'm going to be there for 2 nights, so hopefully I'll be able to cram them all in. We'll see.
I think so. That's usually what I do now. I usually do about 2 nights. Before I did the podcast, I didn't realize people went more than like a night. Like I would always try to do everything, and I usually failed. And it was like, okay, well that was fun. I'll go back another year. And I went back for like 18 years. I feel like before I realized, oh yeah, some of these people go every night, and really kind of found that community. And I still though with my travel, I only can usually go. I try to go opening weekend, and then I'll try to hit sometime a little bit closer to Halloween. So that's my plan again this year is hopefully to go opening night or opening weekend, and then sometime mid to late October. Yeah. I got a lot in October. I got kids' birthdays and Halloween. And I would go on that wrestling cruise, except for it's like at the worst time. I would love to go on Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Cruise. And my son was like, I want to, because he plays an ad break every time for Ring of Honor. He's like, I want to go on this. I was like, buddy, it's over your birthday. Do you want to miss your birthday and Halloween? And he's just like, I'll see them when they come to town. You know, it's
Yeah, Katrin and our families are going on vacation in October to Disney World. So I'm taking Katrin for his first time to Halloween Horror Nights.
How old?
No.
Just me.
Chris.
Oh, just Katrin. Oh, I thought I heard it broke up there.
Oh, no.
I was saying your kid.
No.
I don't think your kids are old enough, man. I'm just I'm not gonna ruin that for you.
I'm taking Chris for the first time.
You're gonna enjoy it. I think so, at least. Most people I know who've gone now, like, manage your expectations of wild, but it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I took people last year that got scared out of their minds, and I took some people who don't get scared at all. So it just depends on your. You're a grown man. You're gonna be fine.
I'll be all right.
He's only scared of roller coasters. So.
Hate roller coasters.
I get that.
But I have gotten
a select few that I love, and then there's some that I won't. Like Universal, they got that Rip Riding Rocket. Not interested. I've done it multiple times. That thing messes my head up so bad. Not that I'm scared of it. It just like makes me sick.
Yeah.
But
not a fan.
I've done those Universal roller coasters a bunch, but I was never a big coaster guy until I was like a teenager. I was scared of them, and I wasn't even scared of like I'm gonna die. It was more like I don't think I'm gonna like this. It's sort of how I feel now about like the Tower of Terror. I'm like, yeah, I still am not really a fan. Like I love the ride part, but I don't like falling. I just realized that's not a thing I enjoy.
You're right.
I'll do it, and I'm not gonna like be upset, but I will. Every time I do it, I'm like, yeah, I'm good for a couple years. I'm fine.
Well, I tricked Katrin on getting on Big Thunder Mountain, and years ago.
This was long time. Yeah, like 2002. You know,
I think you could handle that one.
I told him it was a nice train ride through the wilderness.
It's like chill, man. There's like no hills. I think you're okay. So this is real deal coaster problems. All right, I get it.
It is, but it is actually one of my favorite rides now. And it took my son going with me on it to make it my favorite because it's his favorite. And I said, I'm just gonna have fun. Threw my arms up and said, "Whoa!" And we ride it as much as we can, and ride it at night. That's the best. And
I wish my son loved roller coasters, but I feel like I'm getting a payback, like for my parents having to deal with me not doing them.
Yeah.
Like, guess what? Your kid's not going to be able to do it either. He's not going to want to do them, so now you're going to have to miss it. I feel like this is karma catching up with me for being scared of them. He's not loved them, but he's also like 5 years old.
My son's 7, and we'll watch him on YouTube, and he'll sit in my lap. When he was younger, he'd sit in my lap and go side to side and do all this, and we'd see some. We're like, and I'd be like, nope. he started saying it now. Like we were watching a video, and it was SeaWorld, and some of those are pretty crazy.
Yeah,
they're
pretty intense.
Nope. And he's now he'll do it. He's nope. Like, oh, you might like it. Come on.
Yeah, I love that.
But I'm not right. Sorry.
Yeah. My it's anything of my kids. I have to, or not have to. When I rock them to sleep. My little girls were too. They, because of YouTube, has like added the VR 360 element. It's pretty cool because we'll like get in their like rocker that goes like side to side. You can kind of go up and move it back and reclines. So we'll like put on like even like It's a Small World, but we'll do like a full like 360 VR experience, and they love it. And it's like, oh, what's over here? What's over here? And it's a great time. But they got mad the other night because they watched It's a Small World. It's a Small World's their favorite ride, but they watched It's a Small World Christmas at Disneyland, and they loved that. So they kept talking about it. And then like one day they're like, we go take a nap. I was like, yeah, go take a nap. They go, and then we wake up and we go to Disney at Christmas time. Like that's not okay. This is gonna be hard to deal with the next 6 months as I'd open myself up to that.
Yeah.
Have they seen Tokyo Disneyland yet? Small World?
I don't think they have. No. Is it cool? I don't think.
Oh yeah, it's got characters in it. It's that look like the Small World dolls.
Showing them back. It's a problem enough to get them to California. But I have to be like, we're all right.
We're going to Tokyo.
2-year-old, we're going to Tokyo. The flight's 18 hours. And I mean, I really want to go to Tokyo. It's like on my list in the next couple of years of a place I really would love to travel. And now with our work in wrestling and some of the international things we've come up with or worked with, some of those opportunities have come up the last year. So I'm hoping to. I'm not the greatest of flyers. I'm not really that concerned about the flight. I'm more just concerned about like going that far away from home.
Yeah,
freaks me out a little bit. But I look forward to hopefully going sometime in the next year or two. If we hopefully got a big hit. What's one of the cool things working with Sonny in this is we've had a lot of great conversations with different promotions, whether they've developed anything or not. We've talked with all levels of promotions from overseas. And there's Japanese elements to our show, and there's a Japanese style of wrestling that's definitely presented a little bit in our show. The belts are in Japanese, somewhat because it's a martial arts style thing. There's a white belt and a black belt. They're working towards it, so it has a martial arts element. But also because we're going to take this show to Japan, and whether that's through Amazon or through another outlet, we're still working on that, to showcase some American wrestlers they have not seen yet in Japan. So we wanted to make sure that it was friendly enough to be like, all right, we are usually, we're used to the world where the guys from New Japan are showing up on Ring of Honor, and the Ring of Honor guys will go over there. But what we want to do is also be able to present these guys who are not signed yet with an opportunity to go to another country and wrestle potentially. And we've already seen some success in some of that with just some of the guys that worked. The show wasn't even out yet, but where they've worked and met people and been able to show that. So then I'll go to Disneyland and Tokyo and try to figure out how to get there, which could be interesting.
I think my biggest thing is knowing somebody that's can go with me and know what to do, where to go.
It would be a mess.
I
would be lost. Tough. I'd lose my phone in a day, and it would just be. I'd live there. Yeah. I would become a citizen. It's just
you've seen Taken, right? I mean, that's you think about stuff like that.
Exactly. No, you still hang out at wrestling schools and be like, when do the Bucks get here? Do they have a phone? Give me a call. Can they call my wife for me? Because I'll be just DMing people trying to figure out how to get home.
Yeah.
They just need an airport that flies directly into all these Disney parks that are around the world. That way you can just get right off the airplane and be right there.
I've done Paris, but it's been like maybe 10 years, probably more than that. My wife and I went. I don't know if we were married at the time. I think we were. Yeah, we may have just had gotten married, and we went. It's cool. It's nothing like what I've seen from Tokyo.
Yeah,
it's more just like going to Disneyland with some fun stuff here and there. Their Space Mountain is incredible, but other than that, like it's just kind of it was fine. It was fun. We had a good time, but it's nothing that looks to be Tokyo, which looks just absurd. The Best Buy.
Yeah, everything's better there. It's like the rides are better, the merchandise is better. It's like, why can't we have
Shanghai, you have the crazy pirates. That thing with the monitor with the screens, it looks insane. So
you probably heard this, but we heard it I think yesterday to talk about it, that for the Mickey's Not So Scary that they're going to have live actors in the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. We actually talked about that on this week's WWJ. We recorded today, so don't worry.
Okay.
I think that's good. Anything to make that event more special, I would like, because I have been pretty adamantly against that event on the podcast. I had a pretty bad experience. So anything to make that more special, I like.
Yeah.
But I come from a world of Halloween Horror Nights where everything is like overdone and not just scary, just like it's insanely changes. It's a completely different park. Where you go to the Magic Kingdom and Mickey's Not So Scary, it's like, we got Thriller playing and some orange
and you can trick or treat.
You can trick or treat giant lines with adults. Then over here they got Jack Skellington. How long is it to meet Jack Skellington? It's a 200-minute wait.
What?
All right, I guess I'll go do Splash Mountain, which I could do any other day. And there's a parade. Guess what? It's all at eye level, and there's 20 people in front of you. So the fact that they've gone in and added these new things to Not So Scary, and they're doing a Disney Junior thing, which is cool because I didn't feel like there was enough for little kids.
Cool.
That was my son. I think I took him a little too early to it. It's too late and too hot. Also, so hot when you have to wear costumes. And my son was like a Rocketeer outfit with like leather and like it was bad. Wow. He looked incredible,
but it was sweating.
10 minutes in, I'm glad we got a couple good photos because it was bad. But I'm glad they are adding those things because that makes me at least intrigued to try it again at some point. A couple years.
Yeah, we'll be down there. So I know Katrin's going.
We're
going to go because I want to see the new Space Mountain. I want to see what they do with that and what they do with Pirates.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'm not against it. And honestly, I've told people like I would go if my kids are older or if by myself even. But it just didn't work for our family. It was like one of those things where the back experience was so bad that it's like, we're not going to do that again ever. We'll stick to.
We went in late October. The time we went, it was when my son was 3 and he was in a stroller and it was easy. But we had fun, and it wasn't terribly hot. I was dressed up as a skeleton in a bodysuit, right? And I was fine, And but the what's the lady that sits out at the Haunted Mansion? Yeah. She's like, get this guy a sandwich. So I was like, I got called out. Yeah,
I like that stuff for sure. And I think a lot of it was just, I think we went too early in the year and it was just, it was just wicked hot. It was just, it was brutal. And my son he was probably 3 also at the time, maybe 4. But he was maybe a little too, almost a little too old to not have a very strong opinion on his time there.
I can't imagine going in August because it starts in August now, right?
It starts like August 12th or something.
It's crazy.
It's early August.
So hot.
And
it doesn't get dark until later.
No.
So.
What are you gonna do? My problem for half a Horror Nights is like a couple hours. It's still bright outside.
Like one time, it was when they what was the house? It was basically you were going into a closet and there was another dimension, and it was a 3D house with the demons.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. But I don't know the name.
I was like one of the first people in the park and went. That was the first one I came to. It was still bright outside. I walked in, couldn't see anything, ran smack into the wall, and then ended up backstage. And there was somebody standing back there, and they're like, "I'm like, where am I supposed to go?" And they're like, "Oh, we're sorry." And they like guided me through the house. It was so bright, I couldn't see anything.
That happens all the time. Those early, I try to go, but now with there being 10 houses, it's been really difficult. I try to go once it gets at least a little dark, especially for people that are first timers. Like for you, like I know you're gonna want to see everything, but it's so much cooler when you walk in and it's dark.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
but still, you want to go and hit everything, so you probably have to go when it opens. If you're gonna do 10 houses,
probably so. We'll see. We got to figure out when we're gonna go, but exactly when. Yeah,
I'll probably go one day and then let you know. How it is, and then
Wednesday or Thursday.
You just pick out the hits. That's what I always do. Like for the first time, it's like we're not going to do 10. Let's pick 5.
Yeah.
Let's just hit the best ones because there's going to be a couple that you're like, I don't care to do that ever again.
Yeah. Last year that was the Hive House for me.
Yeah. I feel like last year for me, I don't think I did Hive more than once. I really did not like that one.
No.
There was one other. I think the Exorcist year was that I did that one once and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Not out of, I thought it was amazing, but it just was, I went through that one time and that was the only house I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Hive. I wasn't I remember it. Yeah. It was not things that I like to put in my brain.
Yeah.
And then this year though, so far all the announcements, I'm Sorry, my voice is cracked. It's getting late. I am excited about so far everything they've announced. So
yeah, me too.
I'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a cool year.
So it's getting late, like you said. So we want to wrap. One more thing I wanted to ask you.
Like Logan's voice squeaked. That's the end. We're wrapping
it. we're about approaching our mark. But I know that this is going way back. That you were an intern at Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the return of Double Dare.
Okay, sure. I haven't watched it yet. I DVR'd it tonight. I am obviously a huge fan. I didn't work at Nickelodeon, but in 2003, in 2004, I worked on a show that was actually a spinoff of Double Dare called Slime Time Live, which is the show that was reintroducing Double Dare back in 2000 when they did the first reboot.
Yeah.
And that show outlasted Double Dare. And then I worked later on, like the next couple months in New York for a show called You Pick Live, which was essentially the same thing that when Nick decided to go no mess, no slime, nothing. I'm very glad to see them returning to some mess. I think it's well needed. I'm very happy for Double Dare. I was at Nickelodeon at the time when the studios in Florida closed down, so I have some of the original props from Double Dare because they were literally just throwing stuff out, and I was the only person there who cared. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, I'm not taking any of this stuff. And I was like, I'm taking the nose. It's going home with you guys. So it's in storage somewhere. Nice. Just disgusting. And I have a couple things from the original show. So I'm very excited as a fan to see them revisit it. I'm not going to say I'm going to tune in like every episode. Yeah. But, it's cool. I think there's that full nostalgia wave that's happening right now, and part of me loves it, and part of me is a little like disheartened by it, but part of me really does love it. I know they're doing a Keenan versus Kel family one that's coming up on Double Dare, and that one I will tune in.
Yeah,
I will be there. I will be there for that. I would go, and I know some people that work on it. There's part of me that's like, just tell me when you're shooting that one. I want to go see that. But it will be a pretty cool thing, and I'm glad. I think Nick maybe has been hesitant, and you definitely see it at Disney. The only thing they really did was Girl Meets World, where they're a little hesitant to sort of own up to their age. When I worked there, it was the 25th anniversary of Nickelodeon, and in the last minute, we were not allowed to say 25 because they thought kids would think that's old. So it became Nick's big birthday. So I'm glad they realized that like there is an audience for what they created and what will come after that. To plug another friend of mine's project, when I was there, I really fell in love with The Fairly Odd Parents, which show that was post my time as a kid, but I thought this show was brilliant. And over the years, I've become friends with Butch Hartman, who created that show. He's also created Danny Phantom, which was awesome, and he created, Tough Puppy, and later on, Bunsen is a Beast, which came out last year. He's just launched, and I'm not having anything to do with it other than I hope to create content for it, and we've been talking back and forth. He created a Kickstarter that's live right now called Oaxis. It's Oaxis. It's Oasis and Axis put together, and it's essentially a clean, very positive, not really content focused on negative family version of Netflix kind of thing, but also with a mix of YouTube that will be hopefully launching next year. And I know that they have their Kickstarter right now. I'm a backer. Because I think he's touching something that I think a lot of us need, and where Double Dare I think is part of that, which is be able to sit down with your kids and watch something that's fun for everybody, not just fun for the kid or fun for the adult and tolerable. And it's some of what we're doing at Dojo Pro. Let's create something that's fun for everyone to watch. And what I really like that he pitched, which is the problem I have with the WWE actually, is it's a TV PG product, but the advertisement around it is not.
Yeah.
So you have these like horror movies and rated R movies that surround this kids show essentially. So I'm glad that there's this new alternative that hopefully will be coming out next year from people that I love. So just a free plug to them.
And we're back.
Yeah. The blackout of 2018.
Yeah. Wow. Where were you?
I was recording a podcast.
Yeah. That I never thought would happen. And boom. No power.
No power.
At midnight.
Unbelievable.
Which theoretically would be like a good time to have a temporary power outage because you should be asleep. But instead, you're talking to me on a work night, as they'd say. And now I'm outside walking my dog because she was mad at me that I was talking this long. So if you hear the crickets in the background, welcome to Tennessee.
There we go. Well, we can wrap it up. We did while we were waiting. We went on Amazon Prime and just searched Dojo Pro, and some weird anime popped up. So
oh yeah, Library Wars.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys watch Library Wars. It's available now. I had nothing to do with it, but I will tell you that like even Bart Scott, who I do BLT with, I was with him tonight, and he was like, "We should just call like The Empire Strikes Back was Blue Harvest. Ours is gonna we're just gonna call next season Library Wars." So nice. It has intrigued me. But hopefully by the time you're hearing this, you'll be able to search Dojo Pro and it'll show up. And if it doesn't, go to dojopro.co, because it's fun to say, dojopro.co, and you'll be able to just find the link directly to watch it if you are in the States or you're in the UK. And if you're an international listener to I'm Geek, then know that coming soon there'll be options for you as well.
We do have listeners in Japan, so you never know.
Yeah, that sounds great. And we will have Japan. The reason we're actually not launching yet in Japan is there are some. One, we're working with Sunny to work out the best deal, but also there are laws, and it's the same in Germany as well, that if you, and I know the Smash Dreamers do, that if you don't release it in the native language, then you can't release. So if you can't, like Amazon will not allow me as a distributor of content or producer of content to release my show in Japan until I've had it dubbed. So there are ways around that, and there are other options we can do it, but we just haven't done that yet, mainly because I want to work with a team that makes sure the quality control is there, because I mean, I don't speak Japanese, so for me to know if the commentary is any good, it's very difficult. It's just not my native language, so I'll just be like, oh, this sounds great, and it could be the worst thing you've ever heard if you're in Japan, and that's the way you want to watch the show. So I hopefully will be getting together a cool commentary team, or at least a single man booth probably for Japan, and we're working on that now.
Cool.
Yeah, so fun facts to wrap up this this late evening. If you're ever, so that's like my if you're like mentoring someone in production, it's like, all right, here's what you need to know if you want to distribute content to Japan.
There you go.
Make sure you budget in Japanese dubbing and German dubbing if you want it to be released in Germany.
If it's German dubbing though, do you have to like have a German announce table that they break somewhere sometimes?
Of course. What I like with the Germany, like we have a German version of As Dreamers Do, is I'm pretty sure whoever, like it's like two guys doing the whole movie. Like I wish I could see them do it, because I love listening to it, because it's like one kid that I feel like does multiple voices, or just a guy going like hello, and then like who to Walt Disney, and then there's all these like grown men, but I feel like it's one dude when you listen to it who's just like doing a different voice, and they like hired one guy to dub the whole thing. It still blows my mind that somebody like took something we made and did that. I didn't like pay for them to do it, like a distributor had it done. Like that's wild to me, but I wish I could have been there for it, because I would have like loved to sat in that session. So go watch it and put it in German, and then English subtitles, and then it'll be better.
There we go. Well, cool. We'll thank you again. I'm all flustered now from the whole power outage, and it's midnight here. It's 1 a.m. there.
It's getting hot.
Yeah.
No, he's in Nashville. He's the same time zone.
Oh, that's right. Duh.
I'm good, man.
See, I'm used to being in East Tennessee, and
we're just as close as you can get to being in Eastern without being it, which means it gets dark earlier than it probably should. So I could be in Eastern in about 80 minutes, and or less by the time we get to Chattanooga. But we're rocking the Central Time Zone here, so I'm all good, man. It's midnight. My family is away, so I was able to book these late night interviews, and not I won't regret it. At 5 o'clock in the morning when my kids will wake up.
Yeah,
so.
There you go.
I appreciate you guys.
I was gonna say Ryan will, though.
Yeah, he'll be.
Ryan will regret it, but he'll be up all night, so it's fine. That's just what happens.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. And then if you ever need anything from us at I Am Geek, you let us know, because we're here to help.
No, guys, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk about all the nonsense we did, all the good stuff we did, and then all the professional wrestling. And again, I couldn't thank you guys enough for letting me come on and hopefully share this show that I directed and showcase some really cool and interesting television for your audience. So let me know
really
if you heard about us here on the show. I look forward to seeing the response. But thank you guys.
Cool. Again, check out dojopro.co And
Fun to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fun to say.
Uh-huh.
Will there be T-shirts? Will there be T-shirts?
Yes, there are actually T-shirts available now. If you go to dojopro.co, they're sold through Pro Wrestling Tees, which is kind of the number one provider of wrestling merchandise. So if you're a wrestling fan, there's a good chance you already have an account with them. Same like we do with Amazon. There are 3 shirts available right now. There's a logo tee on ice gray. There is which is what I have. There's one on black, and there's one with just our part of our logo is in Japanese, and it's just the Japanese emblem, which is what our refs wear. But it's big on the chest. It's cool. And we will have some coming out for specific wrestlers and things later in the year, but we don't want to spoil anything. So go enjoy it first.
Sweet. Well, thank you again. Have fun walking your dog. And
I
am. And this has been episode 62 of I Am Geek, and we will catch you next week. Good night, everybody.